I'm Rick Kaler. Thanks for joining me. Back in June 2022, news headlines and social media were just screaming about the 9.1 inflation rate. 18 months later, in December 2023, inflation was 3.4%. That's one of the biggest drops in inflation in modern history within that period of time. Yet instead of celebrating, consumers remain anxious, with inflation cited as a top voter concern. This seemingly paradoxical disconnect, I think, is due in large part to cognitive biases that skew our perceptions of the realities of price fluctuations. Economist Paul Donovan explores this in a January 2024 guest essay in the New York Times, which was titled, "Why Are Voters So Upset? Consider the Snickers Bar." Frequency bias is one of the primary perceptions affecting consumer anxiety. Now here's why. One reason for the lower inflation rate is that prices are falling for goods like furniture, electronics, used cars, and even some clothing. But at the same time, food prices have continued to rise. Not all, but most. So because we buy groceries and other smaller household items so often, we are much more aware of the prices for cereal, toilet paper, and yes, Snickers bars, than we are of those for infrequent purchases like television sets or cars. Now, this is the case even though, and this is according to Donovan, groceries represent less than a tenth of an average household budget. A related factor may be our perception that falling inflation automatically means falling prices. Since inflation is lower, why have the prices of apples or bread stayed high? In part, this is because inflation works somewhat like compound interest. For example, many dollar stores increased their pricing from $1 to $1.25. Now that inflation is lower, we don't see them dropping back to $1. Instead, lower inflation means costs are now rising more slowly so that they can likely keep the prices at $1.25 instead of having to jump to $1.35 or to $1.50. Another bias at work is loss aversion, our tendency to feel the pain of a loss more strongly than we celebrate a win. The pain of a 14% increase in the price of Snicker bars over 2 years overshadows the benefit of a corresponding 22% drop in the prices of eggs. That candy bar purchase feels like a personal affront to our wallets, while the egg bargain barely registers. Confirmation bias, that's our pattern of seeking out information that supports our pre-existing beliefs, really plays a role here. Left-leaning progressives generally blame inflation on factors like corporate greed, wealth disparities, and systemic flaws, favoring solutions like social safety nets, price controls, and radical economics change. Now, to those on the far right, they tend to link high inflation to immigration, government excess, and foreign dependence, advocating for fixes like austerity, deregulation, and self-reliance. Now, neither perception is grounded in the reality of falling inflation and a strong economy. Our political beliefs can cause our brains to cherry-pick data that reinforces our preferred story of the economy, regardless of whether it aligns with economic reality. Those beliefs can cause us to be invested in finding proof that inflation is rising or falling, even if it requires disregarding factual proof contrary to our biases. Your perception of the economy used to influence your political leanings. Nowadays, Americans' political leanings determine how they perceive the economy. That was a quote according to Mike Allen at Axios AM, January 20th, 24. Given the interplay of economic data, cognitive biases, and political agendas, it's no wonder that our views on inflation are complex and may not reflect economic reality. Understanding this complexity can help you navigate the inflation debate, which is really important right now in lieu of all the information and disinformation we're receiving. It's helpful to maintain a critical eye toward price changes, a conscious awareness of our cognitive biases, and a healthy dose of skepticism regarding partisan narratives. That viewpoint may come in handy the next time you're grumbling at the cost of a Snickers and buy it anyway. Thanks for listening.